Hey teacher friends, I'm going to be working my way through my Dear Doc binder for you. The Dear stands for Daily Editing and Revising. Doc is for Development Organization Conventions. But we also have another R in Dear as in reading. When you're doing reading, you're just trying to understand the organization and development. When you're doing revising, you're trying to fix the organization and development. When you're doing editing, you're working on the conventions. When you're working on revising, you're working on the content. But today's lesson is the basics of us cops, as in you and me. We have to be our own cops and check our paper to have lots of amazing things happen. And so we're going to start today at the letter level. P of cops for penmanship, Aquaman for cursive, Iron Man for print. And so what I really recommend that you do is you're going to go to page 11 and the penmanship section, of course, because penmanship is at the letter level, you're going to teach the kids how to write right. Alright? And so I have a basic set of rules that you can teach your kids to follow. But if you're reading to or with the students, what I highly recommend that you do is make them aware of complete sentences. Sentences are like Smarties, and details are like dum-dums. So we're going to read the whole Smartie, the whole sentence, the way it's written, verbalizing the capitalization and punctuation. But we would underline or we would highlight or label the dum-dum, the details. So this is something that I think would be amazing if every single teacher in the United States required their students to sign this penmanship contract after reading it. I'm going to show you the Spanish version right after this. Number 1, capital. Write each letter and word slowly and neatly, period. So what you would have your kids write on lined paper is just the word slowly and just the word neatly, as slowly and neatly as they possibly can. Number 2, capital. Do not allow print letters to touch each other, period. So I'm going to the sentence is what I read, but the dum-dum, the detail is that print letters have to have space. And so if you were to draw a line, something to keep in mind that's going to come up on the very next rule is that any letter that has a tail has to be halfway under the line. So double check that your kids see if they actually put the word print halfway under the line, or if you have to teach them that in rule number 3. Capital. All letters must rest on the line except the lowercase letters. So we're going to draw a little line here again. G, comma, J, comma, P, comma, Q, comma, and Y. So if I was teaching you my punctuation bouncing ball activity, your students would be writing these 5 letters, placing a comma between them, and bouncing a ball on the table, a shorter bounce for a shorter pause for commas, and on the floor for a period because of the stop sign. Rule 4, keep out capital. Keep about 1 or 2 pencil widths between words, period. Okay? So depending on the age or the ability of your students, you would only want to have about 1 or 2 pencil widths. The lower the age ability, the bigger they tend to write. And that's why it says here, capital, only students in the lower grade should use 2 or more pencil widths between words, period. 5, capital, try to have about your age in words per line, period. So, about my age. And again, teachers, think more about your student's ability age. If you have, for example, a 9 or 10-year-old 4th grader, but he's writing on a 4 or 5-year-old ability level, then don't try to get 9 or 10 words out of him. Just try to start off with 4 or 5, then you can build from there. Just to make you aware, notebook paper goes from the red line, not to the other imaginary red line that you think is there, but it goes from the red line to the edge of the paper. That's how wide the actual STAAR document is. Let me go ahead and show you one on the next page here. Even though this is what I would use for pre-K, kinder, and some first graders, this is the actual width of a STAAR document, and the red line that starts here on notebook paper would probably stop about here, and so you're losing almost an inch per page. So I'd highly recommend that you teach your kids to keep writing on their notebook paper until the edge of the line. And something also, if they can't fit the whole word on the line, then have them go ahead and just skip to the next line to start the whole word instead of breaking up the word with hyphens. Capital. Number 6, capital. Keep all your letters facing the same direction, period. So you can have your kids, just for a play on words, instead of writing the word same direction, the dum-dum, they could write one direction. And then right next to one direction on number 6, you could write capital 1, capital direction, and ask your students, why does the phrase capital 1, capital direction need to be like that? And for the kids that know, that's the name of a band, so you can do a teachable moment of instruction. I call it TMI, teachable moment of instruction. Number 7, capital. Do not turn in torn, comma, dirty, comma, or wet papers, period. So again, they would just write, even though there's a whole sentence there, they would write down those 3 things that would get their paper thrown away. And so if you think of baseball, you get 3 strikes. So in penmanship, if you break 3 rules or more, then you're out. Because what I would love to have happen is if you get every single student to sign this contract that says the following: capital, I agree to follow the penmanship rules above, comma, coordinating conjunction, or capital, I will be asked to rewrite my paper, period. So you see here we have an independent clause. You can say IC, an independent clause, followed by another IC, independent clause, joined together with a comma and a fanboy. The student will sign it, first and last name, they'll date it, and then you'll have the parent sign it and date it. So I would really love it for the rest of the year if you can practice penmanship with your kids, because if, as we mentioned in the expository lesson plans, the penmanship is illegible by the time your students get to 4th, 7th, 9th, and 10th for this coming year, they will get 2-0 from the readers. So there you can see, you can practice with blank lines for pre-K, kinder, first. Here's the lowercase letters of the alphabet, the uppercase letters of the entire alphabet, completely blank, so your kids can practice all of the rules with different scenarios and things that you're doing in class. Then they can graduate to single spacing, and so I have all the lowercase letters, the uppercase letters, and numbers, and even you can see punctuation needs its own place. So let's pretend like I finished a sentence right there. Then you need 1, 2 empty spaces before you'd start the next word with a capital. And if you can't fit the whole word, then we said, let's go ahead and go to the next line. So I love this. This is on page 19. It forces each student to keep each letter and punctuation in its own place. And again, your upper grades can practice the lowercase and uppercase in print. Has some blank lines to practice. Then there's a page where you can practice writing the answers to some of these questions in cursive. your first name in cursive, your last name, your school, your city, your state. I would recommend that you go to the Dollar Tree. They always have the alphabet in print, and if you look hard enough, you can usually find the alphabet somewhere in cursive. And since they're teaching it all the way to second grade now, I think it's really good to practice with cursive. So it's lots of extra things here they can practice. So you can, on the bottom here, give them your own ideas. And then I want to talk real quick about page 25. If you're going to teach your student to write a rough draft, then they can either write their name or their number on the first line, the purpose, whether it's expository or a story or personal narrative, descriptive, a how-to, whatever the prompt is, the topic, and then you write the numbers lines 1 through 25 are already there, so that when they make a mistake and when you check the paper as a class or in groups or with partners, your checker partner, who hopefully has a different strength and different weakness than you, they can just let you briefly know on line 7, line 8, line 9 you made a certain mistake. So I highly recommend that you practice writing rough drafts on this kind of paper, or if you're just using regular notebook paper, have your kids just number their lines, and that way when they get to the final copy, they could use this one that has the same thing, or it could just be completely blank. And again, I prefer this over the notebook paper. If you're trying to save trees, use notebook papers, but don't start at the red line and stop at that imaginary red line. Go to the edge of the paper. So that's penmanship. In my next video, I'll go ahead and show you the Spanish version of penmanship. Please share this with your teacher friends. I think that every single grade level, all the way down to pre-K, could use this part of the binder.